Alrighty, let's have a bit of a fun video regarding Llama today. We're going to be looking as usual into basically we're trying to build as many possible team comp with Llama as we can. In this video, obviously most of the information is still in a beta, so take everything we discuss with a grain of salt. We don't know if Llama is going to get changed later on or anything, but she's shaping up to be a very interesting character, which is why we like playing around with her team comps a bit. So as usual, hopefully you guys will enjoy the video. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. It is a free way to support the channel and not miss out on our future Genshin videos. With that, let's just dive right in. Inefa and Sitlali is finally here, and I know that many of you are trying to get them. So if you're planning to swipe for pooling, then don't forget to check out Loot Bar. If you know me, I've been recommending you guys Loot Bar before, since you can always save almost a 25% on all of your top-ups. With over 100,000 orders and so many good reviews at this point. And by the way, this also applies to PS5 and Xbox user who can place orders through Loot Bar. You can be sure that Loot Bar is trustworthy. Here you can see my order receipts of all of my top-ups that I have done. And for those who are going for the highest package when topping up, there's also a limited discount options available once every version. So guys, be sure to check out Loot Bar through the link in my description, as it can be a great way for you to save your money, especially if you are topping up a large amount. So basically, I'm pretty sure you guys already know. If you're watching this video, you have a sense of what Llama actually is. If you don't, I already have a rather in-depth look into her skills and kit in this specific video right here, so you can actually check it out after the video. But overall, she is going to be the character that I would say technically bring back Dendro quite a bit, because honestly speaking, we haven't got a character that actually helps Dendro team to be better in quite a very long time. And now it's Lauma here with the introduction of a Lunar Bloom, making into an enhanced version of a Bloom team. Obviously, she also got access to Hydro and Dendro resistance shred here and there, making her to be a really valuable character to bring back a Dendro reaction as a whole. In which, yes, many Dendro Hydro characters are going to be coming back. And now let's look into some of the potential team comps that we can work around with Lauma. Obviously, whenever we talk Bloom team, we can never forget about Nilou Bloom, because whenever we say Nilou, we always have to say Nilou Bloom. We almost never call Nilou as a sole character because she's just made for Bloom team. And now with the introduction of Lauma, obviously Nilou Bloom team is going to be turned into a Nilou Lunar Bloom team, and that's absolutely great. So I currently come up with some Nilou Bloom team here currently, where I think one of the best Nilou Bloom teams that we may probably have whenever Lauma come is going to be Nilou, Lauma, Nahida, and Kokomi. Obviously, if you do have a constellation to Nahida, that's going to be absolutely insane. Kokomi is there to obviously heal, because again, Bloom and Lunar Bloom teams is going to also hit your teams pretty hard. So we would love to have a healer. Now currently, some of the teams that we're discussing, Lauma is going to be considered at a C0 level, because I'm pretty sure many of us only going to be able to get a C0 Lauma at the start. However, it is almost a recommendation to try and get a C1 Lauma, because for example, if we do have a C1 Lauma here, then technically we do not need a Kokomi. And other than that, maybe we can actually have a Ino at a C6, which is really beneficial, especially for Not Cry character, because first of all, they should probably going to be kind of like a Not Cry versions of Elemental Resonance, which is where you're probably going to have your damage increase. Not to mention Ascendant Gleam Moon Sign, where usually it is expected for your team to have at least 2 Not Cry character to have this Moon Sign, and generally it's very beneficial for Lauma herself. Other teams that we are expecting are probably going to be a Nilou, Lauma, Ino, and a Baiju or a Yao Yao on your team. If, for example, you're not having Nahida in some way, or other than that, you're looking into specifically having an Ino on Nilou team, then yeah, you're probably going to have to switch out Nahida in place with a Dendro healer to make up for, kind of like a healer slot. Those are going to be some of the nicer Nilou Bloom teams when Lauma comes. However, there are future potential that we have been looking into where, Columbida and Nefer are going to be coming pretty soon, and these two characters are probably going to be shaping up the Nilou Meta Bloom team to be an absolute insane tier, where Columbina is expected to be a really good Hydro character. Take everything with a grain of salt. Whenever she comes, expected to probably be the best character at the point she was released. So yeah, if that does happen, I think yeah, Nilou Bloom team is going to be coming back really well. Now obviously Llama just don't work in just Bloom teams, right? Hyperbloom teams are going to be really good. For example, we have like the Alhaitham core Hyperbloom teams, where we do have a couple that we have been looking into potentially here. Now obviously one of the best one is going to be Alhaitham, Lauma, Yelan, and in F2 herself. Technically we don't have a healer here on the team if C0 Llama is being used, but again, if you do have a C1 Llama, that's really good. And if it's only a C0 Llama, then we're banking everything with F2 shield, which is kinda a bit hard, but this team is really good. Other than that, if you don't want Yelan, then Kokomi have to be here in order for her to heal your team, and Kokomi still have really nice Hydro application. So generally those are going to be really nice Alhaitham Hyperbloom teams. But well, of course, if you don't have dedicated in F2, for example, then Kuki Shinobu can still technically be on the team. Or if you're using Aino together with Lauma, then the other slot can potentially just be a Kuki Shinobu to be the remaining electro character to deal Hyperbloom damage. Overall, I think Alhaitham is going to be coming back quite nicely with the introduction of Lauma. Now, other than that, Nilou is also technically have kind of like an upgrade. I wouldn't say upgrade because his team versatility is just absolutely nuts at the current point, where he technically can work with most of the sub DPS supportive character that is newly introduced into the game. And this time around with Lauma, we can have like Nilou, Lauma, Nahida, and Aino, for example. Or if you want to have more bit of a Fina or Nilou team, then you can run with Lauma and F2 as well. I think those teams are really nice, and Nilou team is just constantly having such interesting upgrades. Yeah, then other than that, whenever we talk about Hyperblooms, Raiden Shogun is technically always going to be here, right? Probably you guys haven't been using Raiden too much, especially when she's a character that is used in Hyperbloom quite a lot. But again, with the introduction of Lauma, Raiden is probably going to make her come back again with kind of like a team where you have Raiden, Lauma, Yelan, and it's going to be either Xingqiu or Aino at C6 if you do have it. Again, would love to have a Lauma at the C1 here. Lauma C1 is just so damn valuable. Otherwise, you're just gonna have kind of like a Kokomi here on the team to actually heal yourself. So technically, not always it's a must-have to have a C1 Lauma, but it is very beneficial if you do have it, making your team to focus on dealing a lot more damage team-wise than having Kokomi, because Kokomi herself doesn't actually do that much of a damage. Or other than that, you have like a Lauma, Nahida, Fina with kind of like a prototype Amber setup, where generally you have maybe both Nahida and Lauma to be on the prototype Amber setup to actually go ahead and have the ability to heal your team. Potentially can go with that route, but generally I don't think that's going to be a recommendation, because we're technically kind of losing out quite a bit of damage. Rather than that, just let these two characters hold on to an EM weapon to potentially help you deal more reaction damage here and there. Now, some other potential accessible free-to-play Hyperbloom setup is generally going to be surrounding characters such as, you know, Xingqiu, Aino, Kuki Shinobu, where these characters, yes, again, they are 4-star character. At the start, you're probably not going to be having, you know, potentially having C6 Aino, but yeah, you kind of would love to have a C6 Aino if you are going to be using her to be on the team, because pre-C6 Aino actually isn't really that good. And yeah, I think you may also have a Nahida, so that might still be considered as free-to-play friendly, so you can also have teams such as Lauma, Nahida, Xingqiu, and Kuki Shinobu. Overall, that is not too bad of a team. I think that is a more decent Hyperbloom teams for using character that is pre-released to Not Cry. But obviously, if you want to make the most out of, you know, Not Cry, Resonance, and Moon Signs, then I know it's technically a required character, at least until Columbina actually make her debut into the game. Other potential teams, when we look into specific hyper carries, for example, Sino Sino maybe going to have his team coming back, where you have kind of like a Sino, Lauma, Xingqiu, and Inefa. Overall, that should be a pretty nice team for Sino, but I still don't think it's going to save Sino out of him not being too good of a character. But then again, it has been a long time since the last time we see a specific Sino team, so it's kind of nice to see that we have a bit of an update. And again, other than that, we can potentially have a Cloran teams where you have Lauma, Ino, and a Xingqiu. Those kind of combination does also work. If you're still using Ayato, for example, then you have a Lauma, Ino, and an Inefa. Obviously, these teams don't always have a dedicated healer again, and sometimes we are relying on the shield of Inefa herself. So just basically keep that in mind. Now, Persian team is probably again not going to be too much of a focus, but if you still want to look a bit into a Persian team, maybe a Lauma, Toma, or Dia with Ino and Xingqiu potentially is going to be a decent free-to-play Persian team. It will be really good if later on we have a Pyro character that focus on making Persian team a lot better, because it's one of the teams that hasn't been focused on too much. Other than that, you know, if you're still kind of like a Kave enthusiast, then you can technically have like a Kave, Lauma, Ino, and a Kokomi kind of team comps. Kave is a very specific character, but I know some of you out there who likes playing around again, especially with Husbando character, where honestly speaking, I can't wait until we have Flints, because we honestly haven't got a 5-star male character in quite a bit of time. Where of course, whenever we talk about Flints, yes, Flint is potentially going to be able to be on Lauma's team as well, where you have kind of like a Flints, Ino, Yelan, and a Lauma, for example. An okay team, but then yes, Lauma kind of wants to have to be on a C1 here. Otherwise, again, it's going to be Kokomi in Yelan's place. Or, you know, if you have like Flints, Lauma, Yelan, and Inefa, and if Inefa can actually tank ahead with her Electro Shield, then it's also a pretty good team where we have both Lunar Charge and Lunar Bloom being available on the team. And I think that's a pretty interesting team for us to look into as well. Now, of course, most of this are still in speculation, but whenever we are having Lauma on the team, we do have to make sure that she is decently invested, where, you know, the targeted EM built on herself is generally going to be around 800 EM at the minimum, where 1000 EM is technically going to be optimal. She does quite need energy regen, so make sure that she has proper energy regen as well, because most of her kit does require her to have her elemental burst up. And Verdant Dew management is kind of important here and there as well, where it is expected for your team to manage around 7.5 second rotation cycle for basically having a 3 stack of her Verdant Dew. Now, constellation priorities when it comes to Lauma team investment is obviously not just herself, where, you know, C1 is so much of a beneficial for her to be turning herself into a healer for your team. But other than that, if you have a C2 Lauma, she's definitely going to be insanely good, especially in her specific reaction team. Other than that, if you are using a Nahida on Lauma's team together, a C2 Nahida definitely is really nice, because the big thing about C2 Nahida is that she buffs the crit rate and crit damage of your specific Bloom reaction. And basically, if I'm not mistaken, the only character have access to these are Lauma and Nahida at the current point. And it is already mentioned in Lauma's kit that these can stack together for the combination of Nahida C2 with just a Lauma at a C0 level. So technically, it is excellent value if you do have a Nahida at a C2, making Lauma Lunar Bloom teams just an absolute beast at the current point if everything stays the same. So those guys, I think, are some of the team comps that I've been cooking up a bit for Lauma specifically. I know that there are many other team comp potential that she can be using, so if you are thinking about some great teams, feel free to leave it down in the comment sections. I love to discuss more varieties of team comps, and again, it is of course in the beta, so not everything that we're discussing here may be correct, but hopefully you guys enjoyed the video as usual. Again, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. With that, I wish you a super day, and I'll catch you on my next video.